Jewell, the podcast where we explore innovations, trends, and real-life case studies with leaders and disruptors from throughout the world of data. This podcast is presented by CData Software, the leader in real-time data connectivity, and I'm your host, Alex Pounce. On this episode, I speak with Nick Jewell, Senior Director of Product Marketing at Incorta, one of the most widely recognized platforms in BI and analytics. Incorta helps leaders and data scientists make more accurate, timely, and transparent decisions. It's a unique platform that enables businesses to run real-time analytics on raw business data. By providing access straight to the raw data, Incorta eliminates the data reshaping, transformation, and aggregation typically required to make data usable for analytics. Since the average data analyst actually spends the majority of their time just preparing data, Incorta's intelligent platform delivers massive time savings for analysts and helps organizations reach more insights faster. We're also pleased to call Incorta a CData partner. Incorta has embedded CData connectors directly into their platform, enabling Incorta customers to work with raw data from more than 250 popular enterprise data sources without ever leaving the Incorta platform. I'm very excited to chat with Nick today. Nick is a passionate advocate for using analytics, data science, and AI to drive ongoing transformation in all aspects of business and society. Nick has delivered many keynote addresses at major data and technology conferences. He's also curated and hosted Zero Gravity, the first agile data pipeline engineering conference, drawing more than 7,000 registrants. Nick brings 20 years of experience across the complete analytics lifecycle, and I'm so stoked to talk with him today. Nick, thanks for joining the show.
You are welcome. Thanks for having me on the podcast today. It's going to be fun.
Awesome. Let's dive on in. So, Nick, first question, could you provide a 30,000-foot view of what is Incorta, what problems does Incorta solve in the marketplace, and where do you fit in the broader BI and analytics landscape?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. So, Incorta is a company that's been around for about a decade now. It was founded by a group of technology specialists who worked in enterprise applications and also business intelligence over at Oracle for a number of years. And this led them to work on some pretty big challenges around not just the technology. Of course, Oracle still is a really big player in the database and ERP space, but also around how to unlock more of this data and then use it to drive better business decisions. You see, typical data warehouses have traditionally followed a pretty rigid path. They extract data from a source system, often overnight in a batch load, grabbing all of the transactions from the previous day, transform that data's complex original structure, maybe into something that's more understandable to a data analyst, and then load this transformed data into a new data model that then gets accessed through your favorite business intelligence tool. And, the trouble here, of course, is that this was a pretty hefty data engineering pipeline. To get from a source system into an analytically friendly target, lots of data, lots of transformation code, lots of complexity, often taking hours every single night. And really, off the back of this design comes a whole bunch of other questions. So what happens if the overnight load fails for some reason? So let's say that the data wasn't ready. Let's say a connection broke, or maybe there was something unexpected in one of the feeds. So do you simply restart the process and put a really heavy load on a source system during a working day? Or maybe do you let the business fly blind until tomorrow, making decisions on stale data? I mean, neither of these is optimal, right? And what's even worse is that the models that get provided to end users and analysts are often simply summarized or aggregated views of their original data. And when you're dealing with billions of historical source transactions, many traditional BI tools buckle under the pressure. So teams often compromised by rolling up their reporting databases or their star schemas into these daily or monthly snapshots. And they actually lost much of the rich transactional detail. And it led to all sorts of problems where analysts couldn't actually get to the answers that they needed because the information had simply been aggregated away. They'd resort to running these ad hoc static reports from the source systems, maybe pestering IT for one off data extracts. And as you can imagine, this kind of data gets really out of date, causes all kinds of knock on issues as it hangs around. So, within Corta, our mission was really to find solutions to this problem that's really plagued BI for over 3 decades. So, firstly, we tackled the issue of data freshness. So instead of a single overnight load that becomes this major point of failure, we moved to much faster incremental loads of data, meaning that analysts can be working with fresh data from source systems every 10 minutes, often less. Secondly, we make sure that consumers of this information really build complete trust and confidence in their analytics by serving up 100% of their enterprise data for analysis. So, this means they can start with those high level KPIs or metrics, but then they can drill through to all that rich transactional detail when they need it. So, absolutely critical to diagnose data related issues that affect really common business processes like financial close, where you need your account ledgers, your sub ledgers to tie out to the penny, and where simple aggregated views just won't help. And then building on these foundations, Incorta is positioned really nicely to deliver real industry solutions through its analytics. So whether that's in finance, operations, supply chain, or in fact, pretty much any other area, with Incorta's cloud marketplace, we ship pre-built analytic content along those exact lines. So if you're a customer looking to optimize your financial close, to dive into inventory management, or just to analyze an end to end supply chain. These solutions can be deployed within days or weeks, rather than waiting months or years for those traditional, more slow moving data warehousing pipelines.
Well, thanks for that overview, Nick. Really good to understand, the customer problems.
That's my big story.
Yeah, it's a good story. It's a good story. So, um, Incorta definitely has a good story to tell, and I think part of that is the level of granularity and detail that that your customers can report on within the Incorta platform and how they access data in real time. So, could you dig into some of the innovations that make it possible for your customers to report without granularity and in real time?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, behind the scenes of the platform, as data gets ingested and gets loaded, we pay really close attention to the relationships between all the raw source tables. Basically, all the ways that an end user could walk, maybe a path to connect the dots and build insights between all of these sources. And then by optimizing, by indexing these paths between tables, we build what we call a direct data mapping. That means Incorta truly understands how to navigate and then retrieve any data from any loaded data source in its original raw state. So for an end user, this means that it's pretty simple to develop insights by pulling the data elements that are needed into the interactive dashboards. But for data teams, this is really groundbreaking. No data pipelines needed for transformation. We're working directly with the data as it arrives from the source systems. So there's no need for remodeling or reshaping the data into star schemas, reporting views, or basically anything else that eats up project time and project budget along the way. And you got to remember, some of these source systems, like ERP applications, can have thousands of raw source tables to deal with. Most data warehousing projects that point to these sources honestly spend upwards of 6 to 9 months just modeling the changes needed to simplify these models so that the analysts can actually work with them. Within Quarter, nearly all of that disappears overnight thanks to direct data mapping and our pre-built configurable solutions that really eliminate the need for all of this expensive data transformation. Just run your analytics directly on the raw source data and let Incorta handle the magic.
Yeah, I'd say there's definitely a bit of magic anytime you can slice something like 6 months off a project timeline. I've I've seen research out there that says data scientists can, routinely spend the majority of their time just prepping and getting access to the data they need. So I definitely imagine the combo of eliminating that data transformation step and providing access to that raw underlying data would be a big value add for your customers. I mean, it's something we definitely see from our customers. I'll say that is a desire for both of those things. So that's a good point, I think, to dive a bit deeper actually into the ways that we're working with you. Some of the embedded CData connectors are ultimately what link Incorta customers to the data in something like 250 underlying systems. Could you talk a bit more about what went into that decision to bring this sort of broad connectivity natively into the Incorta platform?
Oh, for sure. I think it really comes down to the simple fact that now we've fully entered the cloud first era. So standalone systems really aren't the apex predator that they would have been on premises. With cloud first, everything is connected, and connectivity and open standards are basically the table stakes when it comes to succeeding in this next era of technology. And customers are really now actively looking to move away from legacy on prem systems that lock you in rather than open up opportunities. We've seen a great deal of success from having an open architecture approach as customers move to the cloud in ever larger numbers.
Could you talk a little bit about some of those customers that have come in? Do you have any stories that you can tell of example customers that um, have come in and really benefited from that kind of connectivity?
Yeah, I'll give you two. So, first of all, this is a pretty typical customer story. So, I'm going to start with the Redstone Federal Credit Union. And they wanted to leverage their data to gain more visibility, more control over banking operations within their organization. And typically, just like most companies, fragmented data spread over a patchwork of systems and different applications prevented these teams from delivering. Now, Redstone deployed Incorta in just a matter of days. They pulled in 13 million records from a core banking system in just 43 seconds, and ultimately ended up working with over 5 terabytes of critical data from across multiple banking systems. So for Redstone, it was a case that within 3 weeks, maybe less, they'd moved from this bottleneck of their legacy to actually having this amazing breakthrough with huge improvements in data delivery, data access speeds, even for highly complex multi system banking queries, and all of this handled within Incorta. I'll give you another story as well, this time with Nortec. Now, Nortec's a company that manages tens of thousands of products. They've got millions of connected systems. But as a company, they were also acquiring new products, new business lines on a pretty regular basis. And this tied up resources into keeping their traditional enterprise data warehouse up to date, but also structured correctly, despite all of this constant change. So, what Nortec deployed was an agile pipeline that could really respond to change. And one case in point, 2,000 SKUs got repriced within 16 hours in response to all kinds of global trade issues that were occurring and impacting their customers and suppliers, all handled as an agile pipeline within the Incorta platform. Now, the CIO was incredibly happy with the result. 75% decrease in total cost of ownership, new acquisitions delivered into this data pipeline 40% faster than before, and all of this taking just 6 weeks from inception of the project through to delivery.
Nick, these are some great customer stories, man. There are a few features of interest, if you will, to unpack there. Obviously, in both cases, the speed of implementation of Incorta is quite impressive. But the problems the customers were solving are interesting too. With Redstone, you mentioned data fragmentation as the big challenge for them. And with Nortec, you mentioned having to deal with massive quantities of data in the data warehouse on something like a real time basis, which is a tough deal for a lot of database admins. But you're really speaking our language, and these are probably the two most common data challenges that we see from our customers as well. I am curious, are these sort of trendline cases? Do you see a lot of customers having to simultaneously connect to a bunch of different data sources in real time?
Oh, absolutely. So I think, that research has shown that the average enterprise is trying to report constantly on 10 to 20 data sources at the same time. This kind of thing really keeps you on your toes. So I'm going to tell you, it's super common to find Incorta customers that need to bring not only an ERP system into their analytics platform, but most likely several ERP systems that a company has acquired through merger and acquisition over the years. But you also find several instances of each of these giant complex business applications for all the different countries that have slightly different business configurations. Then on top of that, there's nearly always a CRM system too. Sometimes this might be a legacy in house platform. I'd say these days, most often, a SaaS based platform like Salesforce as well. And from there, a real zoo of other sources. So it could be transactional business systems, could be existing analytics databases, cloud connections, you name it. We've been asked to bring that data into our unified analytics hub. But I guess the real challenge is around recognizing that each application often comes from its own business domain or business function, and actually making sure you can deliver insights against 100% of the data from any one system, but also that these domains are almost always interconnected. So you really exponentially multiply the value of the raw data by building bridges between these systems. And I think in Incorta, working with that raw operational data and having direct data mapping as a core technology, it becomes incredibly easy to achieve.
Yeah, that's so well said. Accessible data is more valuable, right? Data you can actually use. So I would like to ask, with that in mind, what are some of the tangible benefits you've seen for both Encorta and your customers of really building the platform with accessibility or, with integrations in mind? I guess you could talk about it as, being an integrations forward organization. What are some of the benefits of there that you've seen?
In terms of the tangible business benefits, I mean, we're definitely seeing real customer stickiness as a result of building our platform to be open and I guess complementary with the ever changing data and analytics landscape. Once customers have really experienced that aha moment of analytics across all of their freshest data, and I know you guys at C Data feel very much the same about that, we tend to see this strong relationship build really quickly, and then lots more data sources getting lined up, which of course means lots of new use cases as well. I'd have to say, particularly with finance based use cases, we're seeing real customer interest in kind of pushing the time window for insights as far as possible. So there's a lot of buzz in that industry right now around the concept of continuous finance. So instead of just waiting until the end of the month to run certain reports and then always be in this state of month end panic, try running the reports weekly, then daily, then hourly, and make the process as close to real time as you can. And we often start by simply making that ERP data available to analysts in ways that weren't even possible before, and then asking the question, what's next once that art of the possible gets delivered time and time again?
That's so cool. I love that. What is next after the art of the possible? Um, yeah, so you've described some pretty exciting developments for the product and for some of the connectivity. Just, looking back over the past few years, what would you say are some of the bigger milestones, bigger developments in Corta has, just kind of ticked off along the way? And of course, we're always excited to know what are some of the bigger investments that are ahead as well.
Got it. Well, of course, the Gartner Magic Quadrant for us was quite a big milestone. It was a fascinating journey. We've become a bit of a disruptor in the analytics space. So, yeah, we're the only vendor at the moment currently recognized in both the Magic Quadrant for BI and analytics and their market guide for analytic query accelerators. So, kind of tells you we're all about delivering insights, but also getting you there as quickly as possible. Recently, we've been spending a lot of energy making sure that our Incorta cloud offering is really as frictionless as possible for new customers. So, this means things like, do we have that easy trial experience to dip your toes into the water? Do we have a seamless process to deploy our data applications that make working with all these complex data sources so easy? And then offering up an Incorta marketplace that allows customers to access content from our wider partner, our wider developer network. In other words, the exact place where the innovation really kicks in for new data sources and new solutions.
Yeah, the cloud is the focus everywhere right now, isn't it? But congrats on placing in multiple Gartner Magic Quadrants. That is no joke. That's a big accomplishment. So hats off to you guys for that. Um, but yeah, I would be curious to know, I think our listeners would as well, what are some of the big developments you have planned in the years ahead or in 2023 as well?
Well, I mean, let's talk a little bit more about 2023 for a start. I mean, 2023 for us is going to be the year of meeting our customers in the cloud or even the multi-cloud of their choice. So, a little nugget about Incorta, if the folks listening don't know about it, we're a startup that was funded by some of the biggest names in Silicon Valley, including Microsoft and Google Ventures. So, it's really natural for us to be expanding our cloud vision to go deeper into both Google Cloud Platform as well as the Azure stack. So whether that means full SaaS service or maybe it's a customer cloud option, Incorta is going to be working really closely to deliver this open, complementary data management experience on these platforms. And we're always looking to enhance and evolve our customer experience as well. So that could be a fully guided proof of value that we talked about with our customer examples. It could be connecting our prospects or our customers to our extensive partner network where we can deliver using our amazing technology combined with some deep domain expertise as well. And we're seeing some really great content arriving in that Incorta marketplace that we talked about, really as a result of this process. So, new data applications covering supply chain, HR, inventory management, to name just a few.
Big thanks to Nick for joining us here on the podcast. And if you want to learn more about Incorta, we actually are hosting a live webinar with them as well coming up on May 18th. So be sure to check that out.
And of course, you can always head over to Incorta.com, check out our upcoming event schedule. We run webinars and in person events constantly, and everything from product overview sessions all the way through to those deep dive hands on labs. So we're covering all the bases. Really looking forward to catching up in person in 2023.
All right. Thanks for joining today, Nick. We really appreciate your time and insights on Incorta.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Join, the podcast where we explore innovations, trends, and real-world case studies with leaders and disruptors from throughout the world of data. To learn more about CData software, head over to cdata.com and check out our resources section. We have tutorials, webinars, more interviews, and many more nuggets of goodness. Thanks, and take it easy.